people here. I was looking at this 108th episode and I was reminded of the government, because every government in the world tries to keep information on a need-to-know basis. So it is top secret, secret, and sometimes restricted and confidential. Now it can do it for two reasons. The negative motive could be, I need to prevent information from going into the right hands, or to be not to be transparent, or it could be to seek an undue advantage over someone, or it could be for positive reasons. And the positive reason is the need to secure a country, keep information, keep people safe, protect the confidentiality of the individual, the privacy. And this is where you get the diverse lessons of BhagavadGita in a very practical way. So first of all, to Mr. Antoine Bouquier, the Ajwa Mayor, I was with you just 2 days ago for another event which was on foreign policy and Asia. But I'm really happy that Mary 16 is the most open Mary of all the 20 Marys and the big Hotel Bay. I have come here on so many different occasions for so many different purposes, events, and you have really made this house, this beautiful office of the Mary, a people's Mary, somewhere where everybody can come and be part in. And in a sense, you bring diverse cultures, thoughts, people together in the most international of all of Paris's arrondissements districts. Very delighted to also see a very historic moment and a milestone in the work that Bhavna ji and Pradyuman are doing through their conservatoire, because over the past few years they have done so much to promote Indian culture in all its dimensions: literature, philosophy, the spiritual heritage, performing arts, as well as you can see here right behind you, visual arts as well. So it is through organizations like yours that we have been able to project Indian culture, and not just project, connect people of India and France. And people of France are great admirers, great respecters of culture, of heritage, particularly strong fascination for Indian heritage and culture. And so it is really, we owe you a great deal of gratitude for the work you do, but also would like to say that you're such a magnificent singer in your own right, and we are waiting for one of your concerts very soon. I hope it is going to happen. So thank you very much for this unique enterprise. It is unique because it's been a great collaboration between the embassy and with Conservatoire. Some collaborations die very quickly, some persist, very few persist actually, and yours is one which has been going on for several years. It started with Naman before, and now Pujya has been carrying it so well forward. So I really think this is very special, both for the collaboration and for the subject that you are tackling. Because we are dealing with something which is timeless, which is universal. 5,000 years it has been around. And imagine the number of generations of people that it has motivated, it has inspired, it has provided spiritual and ethical guidance to. And as India opened itself to the world, and as the world connected to India, BhagavadGita became a treasure of the humanity. Today, you can read it in 80 or more languages. We have gifted it to almost everyone in UNESCO. And those languages where it hasn't been translated into, people are making efforts to get them translated. So, what is it that makes it so timeless and so universal, so relevant for our times, as it has been forever? It is perhaps the most revered spiritual or scripture of India. But it seems completely non-denominational. It seems completely beyond the boundaries of religion, of geography, of age, of time. And that is because it delves not into do's and don'ts, but in a very fundamental way across its 18 chapters with three basic things: self, the divine, and the realization of your true self, and through that the realization of the divine, the Atman, going into the Brahman. It is a dialogue that takes place on the battlefields of Kurukshetra in an epic war that presented almost every vice and virtue of humanity. In those first to 18 chapters, 700 shlokas, there is no human emotion, no human vice, no human values and virtues that does not find a description. It is so complete. But it is a metaphorical battlefield. It immediately graduates from the immediate context of the battlefield into the larger realm. Because it is the battlefield that we all have within ourselves. The daily dilemmas, the daily ethical questions, the choices, the issue of thought, action, motives that confronts us on a daily basis. So the battlefield is really within us and by extension in the world that we inhabit. So at one level, it is something that you keep reading and experiencing in a different way at different times of your life. So anyone who says he's read Bhagavad Gita, I say, well, you should be saying present continuous, because you must be reading it, not having read it. Because I can tell you, if you read it at 18 or 20 or 25 or 30 or 50 or 60, you see it in different ways because you can relate it to your own life's experiences, to your own pains and sorrows, to your joys and your pleasures, to your achievements, to your failures, to your triumphs, to your successes. But it is not that event that you are relating to, but how you related to that event. Because events are beyond your control, but how you relate to an event is very much within your control. And the central message of Gita is fundamentally that. If you can distinguish between sannyas and tyag, between sort of renunciation of worldly life and renunciation of the fruits of your action, then you have understood the meaning of life. It is not a book that tells you to give up life and go into a forest or in a cave in Himalaya or in a church or in a convent or in a Buddhist vihara or in a Muslim madrasa and spend your life in contemplation. It is about dharma, about duty, about action. It is about action, which is what makes it so relevant to our everyday life. And we have all heard its most important message, that Yours is only the right to action, but never to the fruits of your action. Never treat any action through the motives of its fruits. But in the same shloka, it also says that there is no room for inaction. So action without desire for the fruits, action for the pure purpose of action. And as you go through and always a warning against inaction. So sitting quietly and having desires is no solution. It breeds all kinds of poisons within. This is the fundamental thing, and it is the difference between detachment and non-attachment. Detachment is passive. You're saying, I'm not interested in that. You're detached. But non-attachment is that you devote yourself fully, perfectly into your action, into your dharma, into your duty, without bothering about what lies ahead, whether the outcome will be positive or negative, whether I will get honors or I will get bouquets or I will get beaten. What is it? That is what it leads to. So this remove yourself from the duality of pain and pleasure, to make yourself more centered, stable. And as you go through this, and I particularly like the last 3 chapters, because it makes a very clear distinction between 2 forms of life, the divine and the demonic, if you can call it. And then the second last chapter, which is on the 3 forms of material existence, the sattvic, the rajasic and tamasic, are in a sense something very important in that the motive of your action is as important as your action is. If you give charity of 1 million euros to someone and then you want your photograph in the front page of Le Monde, or people to come and say you're a great man, you're a wonderful human being, then your motive was not right. And your action may seem noble, but it will result in pain. It will result in disappointment. You will say, oh, I should have got a letter from President for my action, but he did not send me a letter. Or you might say that nobody interviewed me, I should have been the front page news or the first news in this. So I have often been struck by the importance of the motive that is so inherent in this, and ultimately, of course, to what is liberation. No, I've spoken enough about the spiritual side, and Mahatma Gandhi used to say that it is both a spiritual guide, but also an ethical and practical guide. And imagine, he often used to say that I revert to it in my moments of doubt, despair, and sometimes uncertainty in that great freedom struggle that he led India through. And he used to call it as my mother because his mother had died young, so he had to go to BhagavadGita for advice. Not just on his, what he calls as a spiritual journey, the sense of strength and solace he got from it, but the guidance that in the face of the most powerful nation in the world at that point of time, to take the path of non-violence, righteousness and truth, and liberate India from colonialism, and almost change the course of human history because it led to freedom around the world. That inspiration he got from that message of dharma in Bhagavad Gita. Of course, he had also used to have great admire of the Bible, of the Sermon on the Mount, and of what Leo Tolstoy used to write. I mean, this is the eclectic vision, the grand vision of a person like him. And then when we come to the practical side of life, just think of it in what it can do to you if you are able to deal with this or understand its true meaning. It makes you more centered, more stable, more productive, more efficient, more grounded, happier, more fulfilled, and you are able to deal with your emotions of anxiety, doubts, aggression, anger, delusions, lack of discrimination in the right and the wrong. That's the most important thing that can happen. And it is our job to explain it to people in simple, comprehensible language, which is what Bhavnaji is doing through these doodles. It also, if governments adopt it, we'll have a more just, fair and equitable societies that everyone talks about. And if you can understand that if you can overcome greed, desire, ambitions, you will be able to realize that happiness is not through an ATM card, but it is within. And so you will consume less and help the planet a bit more and achieve all our climate goals instead of simply searching for technological solutions. And if you understand its message, which is so universal, which is rooted in that sense of ultimate truth, then all the divisions that we see in the world will become less, and we will create a more harmonious world. But that's maybe at a very lofty level. But if you are a manager, if you are running a company, if you're running an office, if you are leading people, can you think of a more motivational literature in the world, which turns someone beset with doubt and depression, almost willing to give up, into someone who conquered himself and achieved the ultimate? So think of it as a motivational tool. Think of it also as a management tool. What is the metric of performance? Is it the outcome, or is it what the person has done? It's the process. And I often use that, not the outcome, which is beyond anyone's control, but the actions are within the control of a person. So you would judge someone by the processes, not simply by whether that outcome was achieved. And I do this almost on a daily basis in my life. Think of students who are going to write their exams. What should they be thinking about? If you tell them, if you study well, you'll get admission in Cole Normal Superior, or if you will do this, or if you study, I will give you this new iPhone 16 or whatever is there. That's a wrong message. And it breeds a perpetual chain of, and if you fail your holiday or that February holiday to Chamonix is cancelled. So then it is this notion of reward and punishment linked to outcomes, rather than finding a way to motivate to say that your duty is to study and do as much as you can. Enjoy the moment, the present, the purity of your task, which is to study. I mean, you can think of so many different ways at national level, societal level, in our fight against global crisis, food hunger, food security, climate crisis, health, so many different ways in the wars and conflicts that we deal with, but also at our individual level. There is so much that we can learn from it. But what is important is, well, first of all, it's a magnificent poetry. It's most beautiful and powerful. And it can only be something that has divinity in it, that can, in 700 shlokas, write in such a beautiful prose, poem, etc. But it is not that everyone will understand it, and which is where this is an extraordinary initiative. And I'd like to compliment everyone. I could go on speaking a little bit more about BhagavadGita and its messages, and I won't. But I'd like to compliment everyone who has been part of this journey. I'd like to, certainly the vision that Bhavnaji, Prathamaji have had, the persistence, because you can lose interest. I was waiting for you to lose interest and say, hey, I can't do it anymore. To Madam Erika for an Ishani, as your name is, right, for the work that you have done. For Nadine, who is here or not here. Yeah, she's here for your translation. You're doing a phenomenal job to make it understandable to the person, to a child, in a sense that attracts the attention. So it's all been a terrific effort. If we have only done, 162 out of 700. That's just 3 of the 18 chapters. Yes, but very important ones, from the dilemma to knowledge to action, is, at least if people have understood this much, the rest of the journey will be even easier. Right, so, and we look forward to, of course, hearing from Mr. Mark Dolafon, and Vaidyaji is, there she is, on Ayurveda, which is also all so closely linked, because Ayurveda means the science of life, and part of BhagavadGita is to do with this magnificent science of life, because Ayurveda is not just about medicines, it's about the whole existence in your mind, in your body, in your spirit, the unity that you bring in, and how you live, what you eat, how you behave, how you relate to the world, how you relate to yourself, all of that comes in. And to make it a holistic approach to wellness, not just to health. So look forward to this. It's a very important event. Thank you very much for your attention. I think it's been great.